At the company dinner, my boyfriend's childhood friend accused me of stealing her diamond bracelet. In front of everyone, she rummaged through my bag, leaving it in disarray. When I proposed reviewing the surveillance footage to prove my innocence, my boyfriend Jason scornfully remarked, "Emma, even if your mother is ill and you desperately need money, you shouldn't resort to theft." Due to that single statement, everyone concluded I was a thief. I was ostracized by my colleagues and ridiculed by his childhood friend. Subsequently, I departed silently with my mother. However, my typically aloof CEO boyfriend frantically searched for me for 5 years. Upon returning to the private room, I noticed everyone's gazes toward me were filled with oddity. Unconcerned with their reactions, I said to Jason, "Jason, I have to leave for something urgent, enjoy yourselves." The hospital had just called me, informing me that my mother was feeling despondent after chemotherapy and requesting my presence to comfort her. My boyfriend's childhood friend Chloe intercepted me, saying, "Emma, are you rushing off to dispose of stolen goods now?" Perplexed, I asked, "What do you mean by disposing of stolen goods?" She retorted, "You're still pretending, you're a thief who stole my diamond bracelet." Frowning, I looked at her and said, "Chloe, I have no knowledge of any bracelet, nor have I stolen anything." Chloe gazed at me with disdain, stating, "Just now, everyone went out to watch the performance, and you were the only one left in the room. If not you, then who?" I didn't join the performance because my mind was preoccupied with my mother's illness, leaving me no inclination to enjoy it. All accusations require evidence. Your baseless slander could warrant a defamation lawsuit. Chloe's eyes shifted to the bag in my hand. "You stole my bracelet and are now eager to offload it. I bet it's still in your bag." She commanded sternly, "Open your bag and let me inspect it." "Chloe, that's merely your presumption. I've said I didn't take it, and you have no authority to search my bag." "It's obvious you're afraid," she replied. She abruptly snatched the canvas bag from my grasp, unzipped it, and turned it upside down, causing a thick stack of medical documents to scatter across the floor. Already burdened by my mother's illness, my mood had been somber lately. Her disrespectful actions pushed me to an immediate breaking point. I swiftly reclaimed my bag from her hands and sharply reprimanded, "Chloe, do you have any sense of decorum?" Undeterred, Chloe squatted down and retrieved a gleaming blue diamond bracelet from the pile of documents. She brandished the bracelet before me, mocking, "Emma, what excuse do you have now? You're a thief." Stunned, I stared at the bracelet in her hand, stammering, "I don't know. I didn't steal it." Chloe sneered, "The bracelet is in your bag. You claim you didn't steal it. Did it somehow leap in there on its own?" A colleague interjected, "Could there be a misunderstanding? I've worked with Emma for 2 years and don't believe she's capable of this." Chloe responded casually, "One may know a face but not a heart. 2 years is hardly enough time. How could you tell if she's been deliberately deceptive?" After a fleeting moment of panic, I regained my composure, reasoning that since I didn't steal the bracelet yet it appeared in my bag, it must have been planted by someone. The only person here with a grudge against me was Chloe, Jason's childhood companion. A month prior, upon her return from Country M, she had been relentlessly antagonistic toward me from our very first encounter. Raising my eyes to the camera in the ceiling corner, I declared, "Review the surveillance footage. I too am eager to discover how your bracelet ended up in my bag." Chloe retorted defiantly, "Then let's check the footage. I'd love to see how you, a thief calling out a thief, will explain this." At that moment, a nearby colleague pointed at the plug, exclaiming, "Look, the surveillance plug in this room has been disconnected." I glanced at Chloe, realizing why she remained unfazed. She had prepared for this. Chloe immediately countered, "Emma, it must have been you who unplugged it, pretending to call for the footage. Who are you trying to deceive?" Did she think this would suffice to pin the theft on me? I responded firmly, "Then let's call the police to clear my name. If I truly unplugged it and stole the bracelet, my fingerprints would surely be on the plug, your bag, and the bracelet." I pulled out my phone to dial the police, prompting a flicker of panic in Chloe, who feigned magnanimity, saying, "The bracelet has been recovered, and I don't wish to pursue it further. Calling the police would negatively impact Jason's company, so let's just drop it." But for me, this matter is unresolved. Your bracelet wasn't stolen by me, and unless you admit today that you deliberately planted it to frame me, I will absolutely call the police. I stared directly at her, awaiting her decision, but Chloe suddenly shifted her gaze to Jason with an expression of grievance. "Jason, for your sake, I've given her ample leniency, but if she insists on making a scene, it's you who will face the embarrassment." Jason pursed his lips and looked at me, a hint of disappointment in his eyes, as I reiterated, "Jason, I didn't steal." Jason cut me off, saying, "Enough, this matter ends here, no one is to mention it again." I couldn't conceal my disappointment, as he not only failed to defend me but opted for this ambiguous stance. If this issue isn't clarified today, I might bear the stigma of a thief for life, so I shook my head resolutely. "No, my innocence must be proven today." Jason furrowed his brow, saying impatiently, "Emma, that's enough. Are you addicted to pretending? I know your mother is sick and you need money urgently, which is why you targeted Chloe's bracelet." I gazed at him blankly, murmuring, "You don't believe me?" Jason, with an air of superiority, replied, "How can I believe you? You have the motive, and the witnesses and evidence are all present." "Emma, I've already said I'd help with the money. Did you really have to do this?" I looked up at Jason in a daze. It was the same face, yet it now felt utterly foreign to me. As the company president, Jason's words prompted others in the company to swiftly turn against me, saying, "I never imagined our company would harbor a thief. It's truly a disgrace." I long suspected her dishonesty. The rose tea I brought to the office kept disappearing, surely her doing. She spares no opportunity for gain. I strongly recommend her dismissal. Fire her. Jason's face darkened as he said, "Enough, no one is to mention this again henceforth." The crowd fell silent instantly, though their looks toward me were laden with scorn and disdain. The hospital called again, and after answering, I promptly exited the room. The chilly wind outside paled in comparison to the coldness I felt within. A Rolls-Royce pulled up beside me, the window lowering to reveal half of Jason's handsome profile, but I chose to ignore it and kept walking. Jason said in a deep tone, "Get in the car quickly. Do you want others to see you?" I replied, "No need for you to drive me, Jason, this way, there's no risk of being seen," and hailed a taxi, stepping inside. Jason and I had been lovers for 3 years, albeit secretly. Initially, I resisted publicizing it, uncertain of its longevity and unwilling to face colleagues' flattery at work. However, since his childhood friend returned, everything changed. His patience with me waned, and his contempt became evident. I concluded this relationship should end. After consoling my mother at the hospital, I contemplated resignation, yet her illness demanded funds at this critical juncture. If I were to resign, I'd need a secured position first, avoiding rash decisions. From that day onward, everyone at the company fawned over Chloe, isolating me under her influence. During meetings, they intentionally excluded me, resulting in public reprimands. My seat would inexplicably bear water stains. At mealtimes, I was invariably left with cold leftovers, causing me to lose several pounds in just 1 week. That noon, having just delivered documents upstairs, I descended to find a group blocking the company entrance, pointing at my mother and asking, "What's your view on Emma's theft at the company?" They say a child's misdeeds reflect the father's failure to teach, but since Emma grew up without a father, her stealing must have been learned from you, her mother, right? My mother, pale-faced, defended me, asserting that I'd been an obedient child since youth and would never steal. Though uneducated, she'd never teach me wrongdoing. Yet the crowd treated her words as a jest, ceaselessly mocking her. Someone even pushed her, and due to prolonged chemotherapy, her frail body collapsed instantly to the ground. The lunchbox she carried spilled across the floor. I rushed forward, shoving the crowd aside, shouting, "Get out! All of you, get out!" The culprit remarked sarcastically. I only nudged her lightly, and she fell like that. Who knows if you two are so desperate you're staging an extortion. I seized her collar and declared, my mother has cancer. If anything happens to her today, I won't forgive any of you. If she's sick, she should stay in the hospital. Who let her out to trouble others? My mother has been my untouchable limit since childhood. I raised my hand to strike, but she grasped my wrist, saying, Emma, don't. Having relied solely on each other since I was young, my mother feared I'd stir trouble or offend others outside. Ultimately, I refrained from hitting her, instead pushing her away forcefully. My eyes settled on my mother. Mom, are you okay? Do you feel unwell anywhere? She shook her head, saying, I'm fine. Guilt laced her voice as she said, it's just that the food I made for you spilled. It's my fault for being useless. I'll remake it for you when we get back. Yesterday, visiting her in the hospital, she noticed my drastic weight loss and blamed herself for burdening me, urging me to stop spending on her treatment. I reassured her it was only because I missed her cooking. Once she recovered, she'd have to cook for me daily to fatten me up. Unexpectedly, she made my favorite 4 happiness meatballs today. I could envision the immense effort it took her frail, pained body to prepare them. I picked up a meatball from the ground, took a bite, and said, Mom's cooking is still so delicious. She panicked instantly, tears brimming, Emma, don't eat that, wait until I remake it for you at home. At that moment, a black Rolls-Royce pulled up. Chloe stepped out from the passenger side, glanced at me, and said to Jason in the driver's seat, Jason, the company doesn't have a rule forcing people to eat garbage off the ground, does it? Jason emerged from the driver's side with a stern face, casting a disdainful look at my mother and me, dispersing the crowd before addressing me irritably, Emma, how have I ever wronged you? First stealing, now eating trash off the ground. Whose face are you shaming? I looked at him, eyes full of disappointment. Jason, I didn't steal anything, and this isn't trash, it's food my mother made for me with her own hands. My mother anxiously explained, Emma would never steal, there must be a misunderstanding, she wouldn't do it. Jason walked away with a cold expression. My mother pursued him to explain, but he dodged her with disgust, heading into the company without a backward glance. Watching Jason's retreating figure, my heart sank again. Was this the man I'd loved for 3 years? Overwhelmed, my mother fainted, and I hurriedly called 911 to rush her to the hospital. After intensive efforts, she stabilized. The doctor informed me her condition was dire, recommending a specialized hospital in Yunchuan City costing approximately 500,000 yuan. He urged me to transfer her soon for treatment. I sat in the hospital corridor, lost in thought. 500,000 yuan, where could I possibly find that now? At that moment, a pair of silver, rhinestone-studded high heels appeared before me. Looking up, I met Chloe's haughty visage. She thrust a bank card toward me, saying, Emma, I know you're desperate for money, here's 500,000, take it and never appear before Jason again. The old me would have flung the card back at her, head held high, declaring I'd leave Jason not because of her, but because I chose to. But now, my mother's illness was paramount. She'd raised me through hardship, and I couldn't abandon her, so I bowed my head to Chloe, taking the card and saying, I'll leave, consider this money a loan from you. A triumphant smirk curved her lips. I told you long ago you and Jason aren't from the same world. His romance with you was mere fleeting amusement. Only he and I are truly suited. I murmured my blessings. Then I wish you a fruitful marriage and a century of harmony, and Chloe departed contentedly with her bag. Shortly after she left, I received a call. Hello, is this Miss Emma? Who's this? I'm the manager of the Grey Hotel. During today's surveillance check, we found the camera had a backup battery, fully recording the day the bracelet was stolen in your room. I think this footage might be useful to you. I gazed at the thin bank card in my hand, pondering at length, eventually requesting a copy of the footage but opting not to expose Chloe. 5 years later, I was immensely relieved for choosing to bring my mother to Yunchuan City for treatment. Her illness had healed, requiring only rest now, and I'd secured a well-paying job there. I transferred the final payment into Chloe's account, totaling 600,000 yuan, with an extra 100,000 as interest. Resolving this long-standing burden lifted my spirits immeasurably. After work, I rode my electric scooter home as usual, only to be abruptly blocked by someone emerging in the apartment hallway. This was an aging complex without elevators, its stairwell lights long broken, obscuring his features. Startled, I nearly screamed, but he suddenly embraced me. "Emma, I've finally found you," a faintly familiar voice whispered in my ear. After a pause, I asked in surprise, "Jason?" Jason replied instantly, "It's me. Why did you leave without a word back then?" "I've been searching for you these 5 years." I pushed him away firmly. "Jason, I'm just a lowly employee, what do you want with me?" His gaze pierced through the darkness. "Emma, have you forgotten that beyond being my employee, you're also my girlfriend? How could a thief like me bear the exalted title of Jason's girlfriend? You've mistaken me for someone else." Jason's voice lowered. "Are you still upset about back then? But it was clearly you who harbored ill intent and stole Chloe's bracelet. What was I supposed to do, lie publicly?" So much time had passed, yet Jason still believed I stole the bracelet. I yearned to show him the footage and slap his face with the truth. Yet when I first obtained the footage, I yielded for the 500,000. Now, there was no need to settle old scores with Chloe or expose her. The people and events of the past no longer concerned me. I only wished to live my present life well, so I said, "Jason, there's nothing left to discuss between us, please leave." I brushed past him to ascend the stairs. He trailed me, only to be shut out when I closed the door. Unexpectedly, the next morning as I left for work, I saw him again, unshaven, clothes unchanged, haggard, likely having slept in his car. He blocked my path, saying, "Emma, I think we should talk properly." I replied, "Jason, I see no point in further discussion. I need to get to work, please move." His voice took on a aggrieved tone. "Emma, these years, I've truly struggled to find you." I responded coldly, "That's irrelevant to me. I neither asked nor needed you to search. Please don't disrupt my life anymore." After that day, I didn't see him for half a month and assumed he'd given up, but he became our company's partner, specifically requesting me and the project manager to negotiate at his firm. Hearing this, I refused immediately, asking her to take someone else. Lynn gently persuaded me, "Emma, if we secure this deal, there's a 200,000 yuan bonus, then you can enhance your mother's life." Her words stirred me. My mother had raised me through toil, then suffered gravely from illness. Her life had seen few good days. With 200,000 yuan, our living standards could vastly improve. Lind added, "Emma, your diligent work these years has been noticed, and the leaders value you, but if you decline this due to personal issues, will you still have promotion prospects?" Her logic was sound. Good jobs were scarce, and rejecting this could cost me dearly. That incident was long past. I shouldn't let it affect my current life, so after reflection, I nodded and agreed to go with her. The next day, the manager and I booked flights to Jinghai City. 5 years later, revisiting Zhejiang Group, its decor was even more grandiose than before. My mood starkly contrasted with when I'd left. After stating our purpose at reception, staff promptly escorted us to the conference room. Jason sat at the head, impeccably suited, devoid of the exhaustion I'd seen at my building. Chloe, beside him, blanched upon seeing me, exclaiming, "Emma? How is it you?" I offered a faint smile. "Miss Chloe, it's been a while." She smirked at Lind beside me. "You may not know, but Emma was once our employee, caught stealing my diamond bracelet red-handed, forcing her to resign. How dare your company employ such a person?" Jason interjected gravely from his seat, "Chloe, I've said not to bring up the past, leave now." In disbelief, Chloe questioned, "Jason, you're telling me to leave?" "Yes, get out," he confirmed. Chloe stormed out, furious and hurt. After her exit, Jason calmly discussed the collaboration with us, negotiations proceeding exceptionally smoothly, with key details finalized. Post-negotiation, Jason glanced at Lind. I have private matters to discuss with Emma. Please head back first. Lind rose promptly, saying, "Sure, no problem," leaving Jason and me alone in the spacious, opulent conference room. I sat quietly, awaiting his next words. Jason wouldn't have gone to such lengths to bring me here for nothing. After a prolonged silence, Jason spoke. "Emma, I know you and Chloe clashed back then. If you return to me, I'll have her leave the company." A slight smile tugged at my lips as I chuckled. "You think I left because of Chloe? Isn't it?" "Beyond Chloe, what other reason could there be for your departure?" he countered. While my leaving did involve Chloe, she was merely a catalyst. What truly disheartened me was Jason's lack of trust and his callous demeanor toward my mother. "Jason, why not look within yourself for the cause? Or consider that perhaps I no longer love you?" He dismissed my notion outright. "Impossible. A woman who climbed 999 steps for me, kowtowing until her forehead bled, just to get me a peace charm. I can't believe you'd suddenly stop loving me." He extracted a worn, yellowed peace charm from his wallet, placing it before me. "Emma, this is proof of your love." Seeing it, long-buried memories resurfaced in my mind. Back then, shortly after we began dating, Jason faced frequent mishaps, the gravest being a car accident where he nearly perished in flames. I heard the Linging Temple on Mount Taihang offered potent peace charms to avert calamity and ensure safety, so I dragged Jason there to pray for one. Upon arrival, we learned obtaining a charm required kowtowing at each of 999 steps with utmost sincerity. Jason turned to leave, scoffing that he never believed in such things. Though he didn't believe, I refused to risk his safety, so I bade him wait below and ascended the 999 cold, hard steps, kowtowing at each. Descending with the charm, my forehead was bruised, my knee swollen and red. Jason held me tightly, distressed, saying I was foolish. How could there be a woman so silly yet so devoted to him? Reflecting now, I was indeed absurdly naive. I raised my hand and tore the charm to pieces, Jason scrambling to stop me, but too late. I scattered the torn pieces on the floor, looking at him and stating deliberately, "Jason, that foolish woman who loved you will never return." A fracture of collapse marred Jason's usually stoic face. With reddened eyes, he asked, "Emma, how could you tear this apart?" I replied calmly, "It was mine to begin with. I can tear it if I wish." Jason roared, "But you gave it to me, it's mine." After shouting, he crouched to meticulously gather the charm's fragments, as if they were precious treasures. Observing his actions, I found them faintly amusing, saying, "Jason, you never truly loved me. What's the point of this pretense now?" His eyes bloodshot, Jason glared at me. "Emma, are you heartless? If I didn't love you, would I have scoured the country for you for 5 years after you left? Would I have so carefully preserved the charm you gave me?" At that instant, I lost the will to argue. Perhaps he once loved me, but so what? He was the one who doubted me, scorned me, and let Chloe torment and mock me. I stated earnestly once more, "But I no longer love you," then turned and left the conference room. A few steps out, Chloe blocked my path and slapped me. "Bitch. Didn't I tell you never to show up in front of Jason again?" Wiping blood from my lip, I retaliated with a fierce slap. Unprepared, Chloe staggered and fell to the ground. She stared in disbelief. You dare hit me?" I replied, "Chloe, I'm no longer the Emma you could bully at will." Mocking her, I said, 5 years, and you still can't win Jason, yet you only dare vent on me. As a woman, I despise you." My words shattered her composure. She bellowed, "It's all you vile woman, seducing Jason, keeping him fixated on you. Emma, I'll never let you off." In an icy tone, I retorted, "Chloe, that's my line to you. If you persist in targeting me, I won't spare you anymore." I still possessed the video from 5 years ago when she framed me for theft. If Chloe dared disrupt my peaceful life again, I wouldn't hesitate to make it public. The door opened behind me. Chloe, previously fierce and threatening, instantly adopted a pitiful demeanor. "Jason, she hit me." Jason approached, glancing briefly at Chloe on the floor before fixing on my swollen cheek. Reaching to touch it, I blocked his hand and left without hesitation. For days after, Jason summoned me to the company daily under the guise of collaboration talks, reiterating tired platitudes that he didn't blame my abrupt departure and wanted me back. He even fired Chloe from the company, claiming it proved his resolve, but I ignored it, letting his words pass through me unheeded. My mind was already planning how to use the 200,000 yuan bonus upon return, first renting a spacious, bright home, then buying my mother new clothes, taking her for steak, and more. Emma, are you listening? Emma. Jason's roar snapped me back. Checking my phone, I said, "Sorry, Jason, it's time to leave work, I'm going," and as I exited, I heard tables and chairs crashing behind me. At last, Saturday's signing ceremony arrived. Once completed, Lind and I would finish our task and return home. This deal marked the first interprovincial collaboration between two major firms, drawing many business elites to the ceremony in person. Just as all was settling, Chloe burst in with 4 or 5 people. Closer inspection revealed they were the same group who'd once followed her, isolating and mocking me. After my departure years ago, Jason had fired them all. It was remarkable that Chloe, after 5 years, managed to track them down one by one. Pointing at me before the crowd, Chloe declared, "Emma is a thief. Your company dares employ her. Aren't you afraid of financial theft later?" Her entourage chimed in, "Right, she stole Chloe's diamond bracelet back then." "We're all witnesses. Emma's character is flawed. Any company hiring her is doomed. Employing a habitual thief suggests this company isn't upright either. Everyone should scrutinize it thoroughly." I then noticed one was live streaming on a phone. Her intent was clear: to ruin my reputation at this grand event, ensuring no company would hire me. Instantly, many eyes turned to me, whispering and pointing. Lind spoke up publicly, "I believe Emma isn't a thief, there must be a misunderstanding." That day in the conference room, Chloe had deliberately told Lind I was a thief who resigned because I couldn't survive at the company. Back home, Lind asked me what happened. I told her only that I wasn't a thief and had never breached legal or moral bounds. Whether she believed me was up to her. She'd affirmed, "I believe you," and I thought it mere words, but today, defending me before so many, her actions proved her trust, warming my heart. Chloe scoffed, "She was caught with my bracelet, many saw it. What's your belief worth? Fire Emma now, or I'll expose your company online." Lind retorted firmly, "An upright person fears no shadow. Our company is law-abiding and unafraid of exposure. You call Emma a thief, show proof, or it's slander and defamation." Chloe's group insisted, "We're witnesses, we saw her steal." Lind dismissed them, "You're all summoned by Chloe, likely colluding, your words lack credibility." Chloe stepped forward confidently, "If they're not credible, Jason should be." Turning to him, she asked, "Jason, you were there when Emma stole, tell everyone if it's true." All eyes fixed on Jason, his word again poised to judge my innocence. This time, I wasn't passive. I had the surveillance video on my phone, ready to project onto the screen. Frowning, Jason said, "Chloe, you're increasingly unreasonable. Leave with them now, or don't blame me for being harsh." Chloe seized on his words, "You didn't deny it because Emma is a shameful thief, a pilferer." Jason snapped, "Chloe, enough. Though Emma erred once, your bracelet was recovered. What more do you want?" His defense implicitly affirmed my guilt. Before Chloe could gloat, I projected the video. It clearly showed her slipping the bracelet into my bag unnoticed, then accusing me of theft and rifling through it. The truth unfolded before all, cleansing me of the 5-year thief stigma. With such irrefutable evidence, the crowd's focus shifted from me to Chloe. Panicked, Chloe stared at me, "How do you have footage?" I distinctly unplugged the surveillance. "You did unplug it, but this model uses both power and battery, so your actions were recorded nonetheless." She demanded, "If you had the video, why not reveal it then? Why wait until now?" Looking at her, I said, "Chloe, I intended never to release this footage in my lifetime. Back then, when my mother was sick, you gave me $500,000 to leave Jason, saving her life. Though I've repaid you with interest, I'm still grateful for that money. It's you who've relentlessly pursued me, refusing to let go. So she's the one crying thief all along. Young, but truly malicious. Whoever marries her is cursed for generations. Pampered her whole life, Chloe couldn't bear such criticism and fled screaming. Jason looked at me with guilt. Emma, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I never imagined Chloe staged it all. He hadn't considered Chloe's self-directed ploy to frame me, yet repeatedly deemed me the thief. I saw no point in further discussion. It was meaningless. Smiling, I said, Jason, let's sign the contract. Once signed, I didn't linger a moment, flying back to Yunchuan City with Lin that afternoon. Thereafter, Jason flew to Yunchuan City weekly, seeking forgiveness, stubbornly believing persistence would eventually sway me to pardon him and return. But through Lin's matchmaking, I was with her son Ryan. On our wedding day, Jason, disheveled, knocked on my door. He presented a red marriage charm, pleading, Emma, I sought this last night. Please don't leave me or marry Ryan. I took the charm, igniting hope in his eyes, then tore it to shreds before him. Jason, our fate is over. Stop harassing me. Harassing? He couldn't believe I'd use that term. I nodded firmly. Yes, harassment. Jason, I'm getting married. What else is this if not harassment? He stared at me long, then left, crestfallen, while I joyfully wed Ryan. Much later, I learned that after leaving me that day, Chloe pestered him again. In a rash moment, he drove into Chloe, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down, bedridden for life, and earning himself a 10-year prison sentence. Hearing this, I felt a pang of rue, yet immense relief at having escaped the maelstrom of that deranged pair. Now, I possess a happy family.